So welcome to the Missouri Arts Integration Network, sponsored by the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education. Here's our warm-up for today, and it is something that I sometimes call a bird in flight. The physical part of it will be to, as you are finding a place of balance to stand, you allow your arms to float out as though they are the wings of a bird. And when your arms are tired, or when your journey has come to a place of rest, you allow your wings to come back to a place at your sides. So that's the physical part. The imagination part is referencing, let me share the screen really quickly. This image of a bird that is at a fairly high altitude and is exploring and observing the landscape below them. So I would like for you to take a breath, allow your breath to come in and your breath to release. Allow another one to come in at your own time, and on the third breath, allow your arms to float out to the side and take flight. And allow your imagination to guide your experience. Are you feeling the pressure of the air underneath your wings? Are you seeing the landscape below you? What do you see? With each breath that comes in, let the breath that enters your body allow your wings to be buoyed and floating and experiencing that sense of flight. And the landscape that is beneath you. Find yourself in a place of rest and regroup. I would love for you, please, to, if you could go to the chat and just share a word or a phrase that describes what you experienced in your imagination or what you felt in your body as you took flight. And just think of what that is for just a moment. And then I'm going to ask you to place your answer. You can type it into the chat. And then in about 15 seconds, we'll all press return at the same time and see what happened. So everybody type your word or phrase. And get ready to press go. I think this could be, even on Zoom, an opportunity to explore language and do some poetry creation as you are just stretching your imagination a little bit. It's also something that's fairly low risk. So I encourage you to experiment with that and see if it fits what you would like to do moving forward. So we are, I know I've heard a ding dong sound a couple of times today. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to welcome whoever else joined us. And I'm also going to unspotlight myself. Okay, there, eyes removed. All right, I can see everybody now. Olivia, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. It's nice to see you. Olivia was one of our guest presenters a few weeks ago. Okay, and I see Michelle is with us too. If you guys wouldn't mind, let's see, you don't get to see the things that are in the chat beforehand. Sorry about that. So I will just briefly share the folks who are around our squares today. And I would love to invite Olivia and Michelle to just say a little bit about their situation, if they're willing to do so. And I'll introduce the others really quickly. Cecile Galuzzo is a visual arts teacher who's one of our presenters today. Andrea Brandstetter has a very friendly cat named Binks, who is our other presenter today. And she's a retired semi-retired music specialist. And we have Sherry Norfolk, who is a gifted storyteller and teaching artist, who works a lot with literacy in early learners, among other things. We have Stephanie Jones, a music educator who works in Ferguson Florissant School District. No, sorry, not Ferg Flor.
Special School District of St. Louis.
In Ferg Flor, right? Yeah, at a school in Ferg Flor, right. And Maggie Pino, who has worn so many hats, it would take an hour to tell you all of them, but she is on our Arts Integration Committee and has been spearheading work with us, coordinating with Gallery 210 on the UMSL campus, and recently spearheaded where Sherry was a presenter at the
Grand Seminar.
Grand Seminar. Thank you for that. So, Michelle, please introduce yourself and tell us all a little bit about your situation.
Apologize for being late. I locked myself out of my office after my class, so I had to rush around and find someone who had a key to my office.
Oh my goodness.
That I rushed in, I forgot all about this meeting, and it popped up on my calendar. It's like, oh, I better log in. So I apologize. I am Michelle Augustin. I am the Director of Teacher Education at Washington University. And my role with my connection with this group is that we have one of the only functioning certification programs in dance for K-12. So I've been trying to stay connected to this group and have had some interactions with some local charter schools that are interested in certifying their dance teachers. And so that's why I'm here.
Well, we're delighted to have you, Michelle. Thank you for being here today. We're joined also by Olivia Mendelson. Can you unmute and talk a little bit today, Olivia?
Hi, everyone. My name's Olivia. I'm an educator at the Mildred Lane Kemper Art Museum, which is part of Washington University in St. Louis. And I work with K through 12 groups, as well as community groups and WashU students as well.
Thank you, Olivia. And I'm so pleased to introduce to all of you, Jenny Ryan. Jenny is working for the Missouri Arts Council in the arts education area. And that includes the work that the Missouri Arts Council is sponsoring, that the Alliance is endeavoring to venture into the arts-centered education program. Jenny, do you want to say anything else about your previous experience before you came to MAC, or help us know you?
I mean, I taught theater and English on the high school level for about 20 years. And I'm also an actor, but so this was a great opportunity to kind of pivot into arts related work and more of a support area, and education related work as well. So I have grant information for any of you folks who would like more information with that, for sure.
Great. We need to have one of these, Jenny, be just you to talk about grants for everyone.
I could absolutely do that.
I think that would be of interest to a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know what is possible. And
right. And I also think that maybe a lot of people have ideas, and if you give me ideas, then I can figure out how to make things possible too. So
that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all for being here today. And we are moving into what is, when we get to this magic number of 9, we sometimes do actual breakout rooms where you get a few moments to just talk with the people who are in your room, to get any questions that they may have answered, or share some recent successes. The Cecile and Andrea are going to be sharing recent successes with us as part of the presentation in just a few moments. So if we kind of set those guys aside, we could just stay in one group and just today, since we are fairly small, just listen and share with each other. Does anyone have any success stories that they would like that are recent. I know I mentioned one a moment ago, and that was the grand seminar at the University of Missouri St. Louis campus, where 250, was it, Maggie, pre-service teachers were exposed to arts education as a method of an approach to teaching and learning. And Sherry Norfolk was one of the presenters on that, as was Maggie and Tom Tobias, Roger Kelly, and who am I missing? I can't, but we had a whole team that went out, and we were really, really glad to have that. Would either Maggie or Sherry like to share about that or anything else that they're doing?
This Friday, we're having another grand seminar. And so many of the students that were motivated and excited about arts integration are continuing their story. Some actually mentioned Sherry and the stories that they're carrying over with their students during their student teaching. So that's really great to see. This Friday at the School of Education at UMSL.
Thanks, Maggie. There was also a really interesting blending of visual arts and mathematics at the University of Missouri St. Louis a couple of weeks ago that I was able to go. Frank Corley had a sabbatical project where he was just really deeply involving himself using Google Images, and then finding those natural places of overlap for mathematics work. It was inspiring. Does anyone else have something they would like to share that's kind of fun? Or a question something you've been thinking about? You've got a brain trust here that can share some ideas with you if you have something like, I've been thinking about doing that. Well, I like to give adequate wait time, but not so letting it go too long. I know it takes a few seconds to get unmuted if you did have a question. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we're going to just hop on in and let Cecile and Andrea share what they have experienced. I'm going to, any last words before we hop into that? Okay. All righty. So thank you for all of you for sharing. The Kennedy Center Arts Integration Training that was sponsored this summer in late June, 3 days in June, was only $75 for 3 days of sessions. They had quite a number that were made available. And we, the Alliance, recruited several people to just take the training, because if we were to send a person in person to Washington, D.C., the cost would be prohibitive. I mean, we would be lucky to be able to afford to send one person. So we, with such an affordable opportunity, we recruited a few folks, and two of them are here today, Andrea Brandstetter and Cecile Galuzzo, who both of them, it was their first Kennedy Center training experience. And they agreed after we had a little debriefing session after it was over. And I said, well, what if you just tried out some of the stuff in your classroom between now and November? And then in November, you can just tell us what happened. So that is what brings us to today with Lessons Learned and Cecile Galuzzo. So she's going to start, and then Andrea's going to share hers on the flip side. So I have all of your slides ready, Cecile, but if you want to drive and set your own pace, I'll stop sharing and you can take over. What would you like to do? You might need to unmute. Yeah, Cecile, can you unmute? We still can't hear you.
Okay.
Now we can.
So,
Yay, got it.
I have a new MacBook Air laptop, but I'm on my iPad Pro. So I'm not really sure if I have controls over it, if I can actually drive it or not. Would it be possible for you to do that?
Absolutely. Just say next slide whenever you're ready.
Excellent, thank you. So this is just taken from a screenshot, and it's just my title page. And of course, you want to see finish logging in with your verification code, because I'm here to also convince you about the worth of this experience, which was really terrific. So next slide. And this is the KC Arts Integration definition. And this is iterated throughout all of the workshops. I'll just read it. Arts integration is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form and another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both. So I think you're all pretty versed in what arts integration is. I have looked it up online, and I've seen a lot of variations of the definition, but this is the KC definition. And so next slide. And so this was also shared with us. So just a healthy ecosystem, pretty much just reiterating what Phyllis just said. Okay, so next slide. So who am I? I'm an artist teacher with over 30 years professional work experience with emphasis in studio, oil painting, and elementary art teaching in at-risk communities. I have a PAB art teacher certification degree from Washington University, an MFA from Northern Illinois University, and a BFA from Rhode Island School of Design. Next slide, please. This work was done by me. It's called Open Sesame. It's the Blue Tower Dialogue Series. It's oil paint on paper. It's 78 inches by 100 inches. It was done in 2001. It's a series of 14 paintings done in this quad format with the idea of a level of non-permanence. And it was all around the 9/11 situation. And so 5 of the pieces that are in the same format, quad format, showed at the Mitchell Fine Art Museum. I have a kind of a bit of a background in my painting of trying a lot of different kind of approaches to painting. And so one might say styles, but also looking at stories, such as this one is the, this is, come on, somebody tell me what this is. This is Open Sesame. It's from the 101 stories. What is it? 101. Arabian Nights. Thank you. I just couldn't place it. It's been a big day.
Would have had it sooner. I almost had it.
Yeah. So I delved into a whole lot of different kind of narratives in my painting. I have like over 800 paintings, somewhere in documentation. But anyway, this followed looking into Little Red Riding Hood, looking into the 3 Little Pigs, fairy tales, things like this. And I happened to just come across this and actually finished this one right before 9/11. And it was from the, so this actually became a whole series using that fable. So next one, please. This is another kind of school of work that I did, or a group of work that I did. This is hand painted. It's called rabbit painting. It's oil on canvas, 78 inches tall by 66 inches wide. I did it in 2007. It's one painting in a series of impasto paintings that I did by hand that appropriated Disney characters. So this was actually a doll that was given to me as a child of Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. And then this is, so I did a whole bunch of like different characters, like Disney characters, and I set myself up rules so that like this one comes from a symmetry series. And I was just exploring more cartoon comic formats. Anyway, so I also created a documentary series using my hands and oil paint, no brushes, just hands. And that was based on the Time Magazine journalism photos of 2007. And one of those is featured right now in the National Art Education Association 2022 member exhibition. So if you look up on their website, you'll see LA tree digging, which is about climate change. And that comes from my Time Magazine documentary series. So this is a lesson that I'm just throwing out there to you guys right now. I was just playing around on my computer and I thought, you know, gee, I wonder if I could find a picture of Santa Claus for my students. Of course, this is a little bit elevated. I teach K-5, but I happened to find a Keith Haring as Santa Claus, a photo by Andy Warhol. And so I just quickly thought, well, what if I were to give this as a lesson? So next slide, please. And there were actually 2 pictures. So it's just using basic lines, basic shapes, beginning with sketching, light, loose, open sketching. Next slide, please. Gesture is the pose. Look at the direction of lines. Next slide. Using basic lines and shapes. And just, you know, I say here, seasoned greetings from me, an exercise in teaching of, I don't know what I've got here. My face is in the way. Anyway, there it is. So that's a little lesson just a couple days ago. This is 2002 Belnor 3rd graders when I was teaching at Normandy Schools in Belnor. It was K-3, and the 3rd graders celebrated with a multidisciplinary school event that I initiated, organized and supervised for 3 straight years. And you can see here the students have costumes that they made out of paper weavings. They have masks that they have on sticks. And then on the lower part there, you see them at an assembly where the African drummers who were guest drummers explained to them about their drumming instruments. And they paraded throughout the whole school. It was pretty amazing. And this happened for 3 consecutive years. And then there's a little mural picture there that we did. Next slide, please. We had a lot of multidisciplinary events at that school under my leadership. What I gained from attending the 2022 Kennedy Center Arts Integration Conference. Please let me know if I'm talking too fast, or if this is boring for you, or you want me to, if you want to say anything, please feel free to interrupt. I thought I would never say that. Please do. Number 1, inspiration, insight, encouragement, comradeship, networks. Number 2, I observed artist teachers using the explicit instruction model, which my principal introduced to us. 3, renewed commitment to put my efforts forward to reach students, to care for their well-being, develop relationship, and especially in this challenging time. 4, I attended the 2022 NEA Design Thinking Studio Challenge one-day conference, which led me to submitting a proposal for a grant and receiving it. And the proposal was to implement arts integration throughout my school this year. And so I'm working with a PLC, a professional learning group. Okay, so this is in my school. This is what's been happening this year. The first art activities of the year focused on Earth, and just some big ideas. I just wanted to introduce big ideas. It's been a real upheaval with COVID and everything for everybody. So the roots symbolize the connectedness of the community. This is a 5th grade mural, 40-minute mural. It's just a tree of life, no big deal. Next slide, please. In my curriculum, which I design actually, all of our teachers, we design our own curriculums. Scholars learn sketching, drawing, and inking right at KG. And I just want to say that the Kennedy Center did, in fact, motivate me to make this stuff really just applicable. So the inking that you see by this little 1st grader over there, they're all learning inking. I'm showing them how to do cartooning right at kindergarten all the way up. 4th and 5th graders created a positive word zigzag book and integrated learning of the new Jackie Robinson spelled typo museum in New York City. And so this was something just to get us started, just to build community and also recognize community with Jackie Robinson. And that was a integrated, kind of an integrated lesson, if you want to call it that. We have not had the time to plan and collaborate together yet. But one of the teachers was talking about Jackie Robinson with his students. And so I put it into the classroom, and it definitely was a good idea. 4th graders learned how to hold a ruler and as a straight edge right away at the beginning of the year. I taught 1 year middle school, and I was teaching how to hold a ruler. So I just feel that it's really important that these kids feel a certain level of dexterity with tools. And it's a great way to build responsibility right at the beginning of the year. So this was just a little earth drawing. It was a tutorial, but of course they took it on their own. They just learned how to trace a bowl and to draw a line and hold a ruler. And then we took it into a lesson on Vasily Kandinsky. These students, and we call them scholars often, sometimes we call them students as well, but these scholars really got into this. They were given total free rein to create their own abstract drawings using a bowl if they wanted it, as you can see for the circles, and rulers, and you can see they totally got into it. And so the process that they learned was to draw, then to ink it, and then after they ink it with Sharpie, then they erase the drawing, and then they put watercolor marker, and then they put water and brush, and they bleed out the watercolor marker. So we had an incredible variety of work. This was followed up. Many of the students did 2 and 3. I mean, I literally had to pull the lesson away from them, or we would have been doing it almost all year, right? So they were really comfortable with this. They really enjoyed it. It was a great investment for them to be original thinkers. And then you see here, there's also self-assessments. And if you can zoom, you can see some of the comments, like what did I learn? And the ones that I posted here have really great comments.
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
sure. I can try.
I don't think you can zoom it. Yeah, I think probably.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's as big
Can
as
you-
I can get it right now. I'm so sorry.
Go up to slideshow. Yeah, so anyways, the comments are like, I learned that I could be creative, that I could invent my own compositions. I mean, they're just really just terrific. And then I also had them write some words about Vasily Kandinsky. So we went into literature, literary, which these kids really need, because they're really, really, really behind in literature and in writing. And then also I took this another step further, and I don't have a slide of it, where they gave their artwork a name, and they talked about their artwork. So there was actually written work describing the artwork. So they were creating statements, and I don't have a photo of that yet here. Okay. And here they are in class, and you see holding up, and they have the self-assessments in front of them because we're all cleaning up now. Everybody's ready to leave. So there's some more.
Some of this
And then
work is extraordinary, Cecile.
Thank you. I got a lot of compliments from the teachers, and the students were really proud. I was so pleased with them. I decided to arrange a field trip at the St. Louis Art Museum. So I'm still working on that. We had actually planned it, but a recent visit to the St. Louis Art Museum saw that the Currents 122 pretty much dominates the entire left wing, and it's not age appropriate. So I'm rescheduling, and I'm moving things around. I also want to get into the Mildred Kemper Museum for a virtual field trip.
Are
And
you
I'm
in
also-
the right place, Cecile?
Oh yeah, and
That's
I've already
Olivia.
contacted Olivia about it. Yeah, so there are arts integration, art and math lessons out there by Riley and different people using Vasily Kandinsky's ideas. I did not manifest those. This was going on at the beginning of the year. It got students responsible, got students investing in their own work, a lot of community, and it was multimedia. This was another take. Contemporary Nigerian artist Victor Epcot became the source of my inspiration to infuse the notion of a tableau project with select students. Without a music teacher, I directed painting at the 3rd grade, 5th grade, and 2nd grade levels. I integrated ELA as demonstrated by a presenter in a MAINevent, which was really great. This was very good. The tableau idea was introduced to me in a MAINevent breakout room as well for Maggie. Thank you. So this is the artist that I chose to try to forward that idea. Students created 3 large murals with icons used by artist at Cup. Well, this had a hand holding seeds and a bird. Large symbols overlap personal overall symbol backgrounds. So this is a head. The study of Epcot's work was developed in several media. At the top up here, you see the white on black and black on white. That might have been 3rd grade. This over here is acrylic, and you can see just you know, whatever moves you, you know, just an abstract. We talked about symbols. We talked about our experiences, and you can see here some kids holding up theirs, and this is a close-up. And she had like a whole journey that she really got into it. So it was really nice introduction. 2nd graders have been using the human figure for 6 lessons now. Stick figures to Keith Haring, and you can see these are reminiscent of Keith Haring with some expressionism. To Alberto Giacometti, to aluminum foil figures, and are now creating paper doll chains. Here they are. This is 3rd graders with their aluminum figures.
Am I going the right speed? Cecile, did you want to? Cecile, are you talking right now? We can't hear you.
I asked the students if I could share these, but you'll see in a couple others, I said, you know, no problem. So that's fine. I thought there was a couple more pictures in there, but maybe that's it. So anyway, it's been a really good experience for me in terms of just reinvesting and being really, you know, committed to the students and where they are.
There were just a few more. Cecile, I had a bad connection and
Oh, did you?
but I'm back again.
No
So
problem.
we did the paper dolls.
So here, and then, well, if you go just back one, Phyllis. What?
To the paper dolls.
That's right. So this is where they are pretty much right now, creating the paper doll chains. They really like this. So that's my 3rd grade. And then this is just a picture of what one of my smart boards might look like for today for kindergarten. See how to draw a candy cane and create a drawing. You know, all the verbs are highlighted. And then sometimes I introduce these tutorials, which I think is really good for the kids sometimes. I mean, you know, we definitely don't draw exactly the tutorial, but it's definitely a great way sometimes for me to teach. I teach all the basic lines and basic shapes that way. So 2020 Kennedy Center, and there's the, thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Cecile. Are there any questions or observations that anyone would like to make before we hop into Andrea's section?
I did have a question about what you had observed. You said you saw some arts teachers using the explicit instruction model. That's become a really big thing in my district.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what you had observed.
Yeah, so everybody in the workshop, like you take like 6, maybe 5 or 6 workshops a day. It's pretty intense. And everybody in the workshop put up their agenda, and which I didn't do in this because it's not a lesson, but I thought about it. Yeah, so everybody puts up an agenda so that students read, they understand what's going to happen. Even if they can't read it, they know what's going to happen in class. So they have the opening, you know, what are we going to do today? We're going to review how to draw da-da-da. Then you're going to watch the teacher show da-da-da, and then you're going to do it. And then, you know, so every lesson is scaffolded, you could say, so that students are aware of it. And I post these on my smart board, and I also post them on the wall on my BBC board. That way also, if an administrator comes in, the administrator knows what's going on. So that's explicit instruction to get prepped up. Then the next thing is it's a model where the teacher does, then the teacher does it with the students, and then the students do it independently. So it's not like, look, we're gonna do a zigzag line, and then we're gonna fold it, and then we're gonna do, you actually do the whole thing from the very beginning. Students have your attention, and within 5 or 10 minutes, you demonstrate the entire start to finish. You might even include, and then afterwards, we're gonna clean up this way, and then students work with you, and then students are able to do it independently. So it's a model. I do, we do, you do.
Yes, and that's a model that is often used in arts integration coaching, that gradual release.
Yes, gradual release, that's right. And so everyone did that in the KC. I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe it, because my principal is new as of 2020, that she entered when we were all doing virtual stay at home. And we're like, what? Explicit instruction? We're all doing it on virtual. And it's very systematic, everything, even from like cutting, how just, if you cut from left to right, or if you cut from right to whatever, every little detail is explicitly communicated so that there's no doubt. Students know exactly what is expected of them, and they do it. There's like no room for error. And then once they master the skills, then you can let them, be creative and do their own thing. But it's very explicit. There's no assuming that the student knows how to do anything. You just, yeah.
Thanks, Cecile.
Mhm.
Any other questions before we move on to Andrea? All right. Well, I'm going to start sharing the screen. Andrea, unless you want to talk first before I start on the slides you've shared.
I am from a totally opposite world of Cecile. I am a retired teacher, 31 years, K-12 music in a small rural school. But now being retired, I'm doing music 1 day a week, pre-K through 8. And it's just not enough 1 day a week. So mine is not as complex and in depth as Cecile's is, but I'm going to show you what I did with my students. But I also worked hand in hand with some of the other teachers in the building and reinforcing some of those things they were doing in class that correlated with it. So, but what we're going to do first, okay, if you have you're going to need a pencil and a piece of paper for the second activity I'm going to show you. Okay, and the first one is going to be Tableau, and the one you're going to do is drawing using the shape of your hand. I did all of these with everyone except for my pre-K and kindergartners. And everything directly connected. Cat, making me a little crazy. Directly connected to reading comprehension, which is a goal, one of our goals within our tiny district. We have 10 teachers and 4 of us teach 1 day a week. So, okay, so if you, this is your, gotta use your imagination. If you could be a professor at Hogwarts from Harry Potter, what would you teach? Okay, and what would your name be? Well, go to the next screen, and we're gonna have a little help coming up with your name. So for your first name, you're gonna take the initial of your first name and look on the chart. And so if I looked at mine would be Alina. So write down what your first name would be. And then down at the bottom is the link where I found this. Okay, then the second is the first initial of your last name. Okay. So I would be Alina Bollington. So then How would your friends describe you? Choose one of the options. This is how you're going to figure out which house you belong in. So brave, daring, confident, chivalrous, hardworking, dedicated, patient, loyal, fair player, and so on. I don't want to read everything to you. So choose which one best describes you. And then you can set that aside. We'll use that information later. I first started with Tableau with all of my students. We have two main performances in the first semester. We do a huge Veterans Day assembly type thing, and then we have our huge Christmas program, which is the 15th. We're running out of time. But in my tiny community where you see the little sign that says Sweetburg, most towns have a population. We don't have one. So we're just that little place you drive through and it's gone. So that's what my kids, that's their life. So I try to bring as much as I can into how they experience life every day in Sweetburg. So the living picture is what Tableau means. Okay, go ahead. Okay, you're going to create a still picture with your body and with a group. Okay, you're going to do it without talking, and you're going to capture and communicate the meaning of what you see. It could be a painting you're looking at. It could be you're reading whatever your story is you're reading in class. It could be a piece of music that you're doing for your concert. So then we talked about the physical things, the poses, your facial expressions, gestures. Okay, you have to demonstrate all those things instead of writing them down and actually moving. And then you have the opportunity to be creative while strengthening the comprehension. You've really got to know what you read if you're going to set up this living photo. Okay, go ahead. Okay, and what I told the kids, it's going to show you what you know. What do you really understand about your story, about the song we're singing, and so forth. Okay. All right. Like I said, you're going to demonstrate about what you know about the subject. You're going to get to work with other students. You're going to get to brainstorm. You're going to decide what you want your picture to show. You practice your plan, and then bam, you perform. I don't have any pictures of what we did. Okay. So then we talked about how we do it, using our space wisely, and how to freeze, because sometimes kids don't exactly understand freeze, and all they have, oh, well, my body's not moving, but my mouth is still going. So and then we talk about facial expressions as well. Go ahead. Okay, now this was really important, and we talked about how to use your space. When you're creating this, you want to use your high space, your middle space, and your low space. If you look at a picture that you've taken of your family, you don't see everybody just in the low part of the picture. Different areas. So as we look at the picture of Washington Crossing, and we talked about how and where each area was, where the high point, where the middle was, and where the low.
I'm not seeing anything right now.
No, it's reloading. Let's try this again. It showed up before, Andrea. I'm not sure why it isn't doing that. Let me see if I can that you here. This will give you an idea of what's supposed to be on the screen.
Right. So the kids had to tell me what is in the high portion of the picture, in the middle, in the low. And what do you see there? What are they doing? What kind of movement could you come up with that would help demonstrate this picture? Okay, go to the next one.
I'm gonna try to slideshow share and then move ahead, see if it'll work.
Come on,
Come
get
on.
over here.
Are you talking to Binks or me?
Get up here. Come on.
For some reason. I'm sorry, I'm gonna try again to see if I can get that share to work. Please forgive me. Let's see if we can get it. I think that's not it, sorry. Let's try that again. Oh my goodness, hold on, please. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I think I'm back to the next one. For some reason, those two don't want to show up, but I think we're okay for the next one. Sorry for the delay, you guys. All right, we're back.
After we looked at the picture, the kids got to get up and decide what part of the painting they were going to be, and they had to, you know, who was going to be Washington standing up and who was going to be rowing the boat and things like that. So without any props, they had to recreate the painting that they saw of Washington's, I'm sorry, crossing the Delaware. So then we talked about freeze and how you can get the kids to know exactly when you're going to do it. And so we did the 3, 2, 1 freeze, and we just played a little game. You know, when I say freeze, you're looking like you're gonna fly like a bird. When I say freeze, you're gonna look like you've won the Super Bowl, and so on. Then we talked about facial expressions, and are you just gonna sit there with a face like, or are you going to actually look like you're happy, you're sad, you're serious, and so on. So yeah, there it is. We looked at the emojis, and emojis were great for showing emotion. Okay, all right. Some things that were really helpful that we went over, again, the things that were going to help them create a really good tableau, that living picture. All right, we also talked about working as a team and how important it was to be able to compromise and work together. Okay. And also how important it was, you've got to dig deep. You got to know what you're talking about. So, you know, we talked about what happened in the picture, what happened in the story, what happens in the song. And so those things start to tie in together with that, the reading comprehension piece. And so what I did as I moved it over into our Veterans Day stuff is we took our song that my 39 kids from age 4 to 14 performed, My Country 'Tis of Thee. And so we went through these things and picked out the things from the elements of a story that went with it. Okay. So an example, what the thing, you know, I just put Mary Had a Little Lamb up to talk about, you know, who is the characters? Well, Mary and the Lamb. And so as you go through the song, it develops more within the story of it. And so we got a little more in depth, you know, where did the lamb went to school with her that day? And so they were able to develop the overall picture of what they wanted to express. Am I making any sense at all?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
You are.
Okay. So, and the thing, the ELA teacher, we talked a lot about what they were doing in the classroom when they're reading their stories. They're talking about, you know, they're pulling out the characters. What's the setting? How is it being described? Okay, so what's the rising action? What's the climax? How do they solve the problem? Okay, and then to connect it with the music. Okay, so what's the song trying to tell you? What are the emotions of the song? So we got to talk about patriotic music and what does patriotic mean? And it really started it was really neat to watch it make connections between the two. And then they'd be able to, well, what is the high point of my story? I know where that's at. What's the high point of my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, as we're going through that. So the emotions was the big part, but emotions play a big part in story as well. Okay. And then this is just the little note-taking form that I gave them, who are the characters in the song? What's the setting of the song? And then as we went, we worked through it together. So, okay. So now, does anybody have any questions over that? But that's just exactly how I worked through it with my little bitty classes. My biggest class is 11, second, third, and fourth graders together.
I just was thinking about what Cecile was saying about explicit instruction and how you broke down each individual aspect of Tableau and tried to help them understand basic concepts for dance and movement, like levels, high, medium, and low, and what freeze means. I mean, there's so many things that we take that it's easy to take for granted. Oh, they know this. Well, yeah, they might not. And I love the idea of recreating a visual, a famous portrait, like the Washington crossing the Delaware, because there's so much rich understanding about social studies there, weather conditions, science with the frozen water, the ice, so it's a really powerful experience. And it's again, a low risk introduction to, can you recreate something? And then, okay, now you're going to analyze and create something that isn't from a model, that it's from your own understanding. So
then we took our America, my country, 'tis of thee, and they had to figure out, okay, if we were going to turn this song into a photograph I was going to take, what would it look like? And so we had to go through and we talked about, patriotic music and what does being patriotic mean, and how is this going to affect our Veterans Day assembly? And so we connected it to their real life experiences, and it really made a difference, I think, in their performance. They were very, very proud that they knew all these things, and they knew that we were doing this performance for our veterans. And so that going through what patriotic meant and what does it look like, what does it feel like, and it made a great difference for those kids. But the other one, all hurt. What time are we finished? 5?
We're finished in a minute.
We'll just talk about this one was fun. I did it at Halloween. We listened to Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, and so we talked about how does that music make us feel, and it's scary, it's dark, it's frightening. So then the kids had to trace their hand in different ways to create what they thought a character, how a person would look, how they'd be reacting emotionally to this piece of music. So something I'm going to do after Christmas is over, we're going to talk about movie music and John Williams. So Harry Potter is within that. So they are going to use these things. And what's your Harry Potter name? Okay. And you're going to create a portrait only using the shapes of your hands. Okay. And what I mean is, to make the face, you can take your hand and shape it however you want. You lay it down on and you trace around it with a pencil. And then, maybe you're going to make your ears and you trace around your hand again. And it's not like drawing the circle and the eyes and the nose. You have to come up. You have to really move your hand around to get creative, create the face of who you would be. So I'll
stop sharing for a second so we can see your picture better.
So as I told you, pick out the what would you teach at Hogwarts and what would your name be? So I would be Professor Ballington from Hufflepuff, and this is what I would look like. So, and it's all just the shape of my hand that I did. Like the tips of my fingers created her eyes. I crossed my fingers like this to create the nose. I curled my hand and flipped the paper around to create my mouth. And the waves of her hair, I just moved my hand around her head. So they really enjoyed doing that with the Bach piece, and their portraits were just hilarious. We did them on colored paper and we had a lot of fun. Then we jumped back into Christmas music. So I like to put things in real life situations for them, because when you've only got 3 8th graders that are going to a brand new school district next year, I want to give them as many life experiences as possible to step into that new situation and be positive. I worry about them going to a bigger school. So one of the neighboring schools is a 5A school, Waynesville, and one of our kids is going to go there, and it's going to be night and day different. So I really think arts integration is the way to go to make the connections with the other subjects, but also to give kids real life experiences, so they're a little more prepared for some things in life.
You know, with my kind of tableau thing that we're still in process, the students all took the pose. I had a photograph of the artist in his studio in front of these paintings, and they all took the pose and they loved it. And I told them that I was going to take a photograph, and there were cans of paint on the ground, so that we were going to set it up with trying to find a red chair like his, and we were going to put cans of paint and stuff on the ground and take individual photographs of each of them. So that's still pending.
That'll be, and when they recreated the picture with Washington, I had a couple kids, they were the boat. And then some had their arms, those were the paddles. And so, you know, because there were so many different things in the painting that you got to cover them all.
Well, Cecile and Andrea, I'm just thrilled that both of you shared with us today such wonderful ideas. And one of the things that inspires me most is that you had one session and just gave yourself permission to play. And we're in a teaching situation that I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And one thing leads to the next, and kids get inspired, you get inspired, and everybody has a great time. So are there any other comments or other observations anyone would like to share before we close today? Maggie?
So I don't know if they got together before they presented this, but they really differentiated according to their curriculum. You know, it's not a one size fits all. You know, you designed it according to what they might have been studying, to the needs of the class. You listened to them. I was so impressed. Look at Cecile looked at who was the artist that you looked at? Keith
Haring,
and
Ashley Kaninsky,
Robinson, and
Jackie Robinson.
So and I don't know who I should know who Washington Crossing the Delta, who did that, but you used art history, you used aesthetics, you used history, and you certainly used biographical imagery. It just made it all come alive.
Andrea, I actually did an appropriation of that painting and showed it at the Fine Arts Mitchell Museum in Cedarhurst, Mount Vernon. It was kind of cartoonish, it was in that big format.
So I'd love for the kids to see that, because if I pull out something with when we did Bach and I showed them a picture of Bach, they're like, oh, that's George Washington.
Everyone with a wig from the Baroque period is. Oh, goodness. Well, thanks everybody for being part of our main event today. I want to remind you, we do not have a session in December, and our next one is scheduled for January 30th, where we're going to be meeting Marilyn Young, who is an ELA teacher from Springfield and works in bringing poetry to life really quite a lot with Poetry Out Loud. So we encourage you to be a part of that. And always that we have our other professional learning communities, but we're super excited to welcome Maggie Miners on January 19th. There will be an asynchronous component as well as a live and in-person meeting with her on January 19th. So please don't miss that and help us spread the word. We'd really like to have a nice crowd there. If you need continuing ed certificates, just let me know. And we are a 501c3. We do accept donations, and tomorrow's Giving Tuesday. So remember us if that is in your pattern of things. I finally have one little survey that I'd love to have you complete, and I'll place the link to this in the chat if I can get it. There we go. It's going in the chat now. It's super short. If you have filled one out recently, I don't need you to do all the demographic stuff, just answer 3 questions about this session today. It helps guide us in the future to try to make the programming as relevant to you and as meaningful as possible. And that brings us to a close today. Thanks for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful December season. I hope you get wonderful rest and relaxation and family and fun and food and all that good stuff. And then come back and join us in January on the 30th, when we will explore some poetry and Marilyn's work. So any other thoughts before we close today? Lauren Hanahan will be your host in January. She's on the call now, and she's our new arts integration specialist. She also works at WashU. So WashU.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm on my cell phone right now, so the camera is not great. But hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. Looking forward to January for sure.
Everybody have a great night, and we will see you next year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for being here.